I'd like to say good morning, St. Louis and the rest of these beautiful, beautiful cities around the country, such as Georgia, Alabama, New, New York, as well as Orlando, as well as Miami. Also, Chi-Town, Tanya's in the house. St. Louis is my favorite place. Virginia, I don't want to miss anyone. The Bahamas, beautiful country out there in the Bahamas. I want us to go to school today. I just finished my two and a half mile run. That's right, I'm back at it. Came in from St. Louis, 15-hour drive. Just yesterday, I got back, or day before yesterday. The following day, I did my run. Today, I did my run. It's important that we work our body, and in working your body, your mind is working, because your body is a reflection of your mind. But I didn't come on to talk about working your body and working your mind in that sense. I want us to go to school today. I want us to go to school. I just turned the channel on TBN, not TBN, but Creflo Dollar. Now, I watched Creflo Dollar for probably 20 plus years, religiously. Can you imagine a child watching something for 20 something years and how that child would literally be mesmerized by what it's taken in for that extended period of time? T.D. Jakes, Joyce Myers. Watched a little Joel Osteen back in the day. Didn't watch much of Joel Osteen. Benny Hinn. I recall watching all those for 20 plus years. Now, I watched them, and I think as my mind began to evolve, I began to go deeper into what they were actually saying. And many of you are probably trying to figure out, I don't understand how Walter thinks. And I'm kind of try to give you an understanding as to how I think, if I can. I'll take a few minutes today, because I think it's important. When I got shot in 1994 in St. Louis as a policeman, when I got shot, that incident, I believe, transformed me in a manner in which I didn't know that it would. It was so traumatic mentally, not necessarily physically, mentally. My neurons, my cells, my molecular subatomic structure had been shaken. But I think it was shaken for the best, because I made it out victorious. In other words, I didn't perish. Some people tend to perish. I know there was one police officer that was shot thereafter me in September, I believe, Todd Merriweather, and he was killed. But I'm beginning to understand what is actually going on and why I'm seeing the world as I see the world. In other words, I'm looking at different dimensions of space and time. Does it necessarily affect me as it affects others, I think? And I think it has something to do with that shooting. Because I could understand how someone could come up to you and tell you in broad daylight to give it up, and you're in uniform and they want your gun. Subsequently, the gun battle ensued. He was shot, I was shot. I chased him, caught him after a mile and a half. Subsequently, he was arrested. But it wasn't the physical, it was what was happening in the spirit at the deeper level of that encounter. That's what was going on. That's where my neurons begin to shake. And I always said to you, nothing is physical. Everything is different levels of energy. The reason we appear as if it's physical is because our mind have not yet evolved. If you're utilizing only 2% of your mind, but yet you think you're utilizing 100%, you're going to look at it from the wrong perspective, because you're looking at it at 2%, but you're thinking 100% is 2%, but unfortunately you got 98% to go. So when that incident happened, it jarred my mind, just like savants. You remember guys that get hit upside the head and they begin to become geniuses? And I'm not saying I'm a savant. It's just that, and I didn't get hit upside the head. But I think when something like that happens so traumatic, if you can sustain it and understand it, you can make sense of it, and subsequently you can elevate exponentially 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and not look at things linear, 1 through 30, linear. And the reason I say exponential, because in order to be able to see the world as it truly is, you have to reach a level of mind where you can actually encode the information all around you. You're taking everything in. Your retina is taking everything in and flipping it. And it looks like it's outside, but it's inside you. The world is not outside you. You're encoding it subsequently. And as a result, it becomes formed in the fabric of space and time. But unfortunately, we stayed in space and time. And as a result of staying in space and time, we unfortunately perished because we didn't get out of space and time enough to allow the inner spirit to manifest and work. Subsequently, the external continued to work, and as a result of the external decays, and as a result, they came up with laws of thermodynamics, entropy increases, chaos, and disorder. So as a result, chaos and disorder, we built this world based upon a false perception of truth because of chaos and disorder. In other words, the Heisenberg uncertainty principles state that you can't measure the position and the velocity of an object. You can't measure it because once you measure one, the position, the velocity, which is moving, you're going to have to measure it, but you're going to disturb it based upon what you're trying to measure it with because you need a low level of light. And subsequently, you can't measure it. So as a result, you're not going to measure it, and it's a distorted view of your truth. I believe this is what's going on. I believe that the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, and many of you know I started preaching. After that incident, it took me to another realm. I began to preach. I used to be on the radio for a while, and I was just sold out. And what had happened was I didn't finish the course. See, most people are sold out, but they fail to realize they only reached a certain level, and they never go beyond the level in which they reach. Subsequently, they end up perishing, getting sicknesses and diseases. And when they say that the darkness will fly over you, it grips you at the nucleus level, and subsequently it sucks the oxygen out of you, just like this virus, just like the coronavirus. If we don't reach a higher level of awareness in mind, cognitive, herd immunity, based upon our own ability to strengthen in mind, based upon our perfected light, not based upon a shot. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's important for us to get the vaccine. And the reason being is because we are living in poison. And unfortunately, you need something to keep the poison from killing you because you're living in the poison. Subsequently, they're making the vaccine out of the poison in which you live. But that's going to allow you to live longer than you would have if you didn't have the vaccine. In other words, if you didn't have the vaccine, chances are if you get sick, your immune system gets weakened, there's a strong probability you might be placed on a ventilator or lose oxygen. And that's what's happening. We're literally losing oxygen, not based on the virus itself, but we're losing oxygen every day. That's one of the reasons your cells are mutating and your teeth and everything tends to fall and everything tends to sag, because you're not as powerful as you were when you were that young bundle of joy when mama birthed you through the canal and subsequently you came and there you were looking cute as can be and hugs and kisses. And as a result, you grew and based upon the information that you gathered from those that came before you, they're feeding you untruth because they have not the ability to feed you truth because they never knew the truth. So subsequently, it appears though it's the truth because nobody came back from the future to tell them they didn't finish the course. Where am I going with all this? I'm basically saying, and I mentioned about Creflo and T.D. Jakes, etc. What they're saying is plausible if you're in the world. If you're in the world, you're going to be hurting. You're going to need someone to settle you down because if not, you're going to go crazy. So that tends to help to settle you down. However, it doesn't take you where you need to go to break out. That's the key. You can be settled down. That's why 7 billion people, some of them serve some form of religion because it's, of course, settling them down. However, you're not breaking out of the matrix. You're not breaking out of that ionosphere and bringing space absolute zero down to earth, meaning heaven, subsequently manifesting the power within you because you're just settling down. It says only thing you need to do is have faith. Just believe. No, faith without work is not going to work. You need work. Now, the work must happen based upon you strengthening in mind. The Bible says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Seek ye first the kingdom, which is the minds. Unfortunately, the pastors that are preaching today, have not given you the full 411 because they don't know themselves. The blind are leading the blind. The Bible says, woe to the pastors that scatter my sheep. You don't know me. Woe to the pastors. The Bible is literally talking to itself. The mind is trying to find itself. In the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, 66 books in the Bible, it's information and data. That is alive at the micro level. At the macro, it's letter. It will kill you. Unfortunately, we've been preaching the letter, and we turned the Bible into fables and stories and seared the consciousness. And that's one of the reasons we have mental, neurological disorders, etc. That's one reason we're decaying. It's because we never reached the end. The Bible says many have taken the wide gate that lead to destruction, the narrow gate that lead to life. Not many people find. Why do you think that is? You're living a life that appears to be true, but unfortunately you haven't finished the course. So therefore, you're born, then the grave. And many believe that the Bible says to be absent from the body is to be present with God. God is not a person. To be absent from the flesh, meaning the low-level mind, to be present with God, which is a perfect sound, you become one with that sound. You become Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, first and the last. Getting back to Pastor Creflo Dollar and the rest of these guys. The Bible also said they're making merchandise of you. These guys got these live in these lavishing homes, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, $15 million homes, big jets and etc. Big cars, Rolls Royces and Lamborghinis and whatever they may drive. Whereas you giving your total lash, 10%, bring your tithes to the storehouse. I want you all to understand something. I mean, I did that for years, and I did it because my mind led me to do it, because I was blind. I'm one to believe that from Genesis to Revelation, there is truth in the Bible. However, you have to get to the micro. You have to get to the spirit, not the letter. He says, cast your net out into the deep. If you stay in shallow ground, you're going to perish. It's inevitable. And you're going to think, well, perishing is normal. Mama died, grandmama died, great-grandmama died. Well, what happened with the little kids that were 10, 15 years old that got shot and killed accidentally? Or somebody that raped them, etc. What happened then? Was that supposed to happen? The reason this is happening is because we hadn't reached the perfect sound, meaning a perfect mind. The kids are depending upon us. Our grandkids, great-grandkids, great-great-grandkids are depending on us to do what we need to do in order to lead a more productive path for them to follow. I'm one to believe that we have the ability and the potential to bring truth in our generation right now. Let me give you an example, and I'm kind of going all over the place because I want you to get this. I want you to think about a caveman, a Neanderthal, somebody lived back 300,000 years ago, didn't know about planes, trains, cars, didn't know about nuclear power plants, didn't know about energy, didn't know about light, didn't know about nothing other than the fact that what it thought it knew because it didn't know anything beyond it. Its teachers can only teach them what they knew. Subsequently came us in the 21st century. We know about planes, trains, etc., the Orville and Wilbur Wright. We know about so many different things. And we think they were primitive in mind. They had not a clue what was going on. But who's after us? Who's going to say those guys that lived in the 21st century with Einstein, Isaac Newton, Nikola Tesla, Elon Musk, those guys were blind. They were going the wrong way. They were trying to colonize Mars. But yet they failed to realize that diamond was within them. They were going the wrong way. But just so happened the people that come after us might also be going the wrong way. Then the people after them may also be going the wrong way. So the world is going to continue as it is along that wide gate that leads to destruction. So what if we in the 21st century decide to come to the conclusion as to what's going on right now? We're going to bring the future, not necessarily the grave, where people can't even think, they suffer from different types of infirmities, Alzheimer's and dementia. No, the reason that's taking place is because their cells are mutating. They don't have the sound. They're decreasing in sound. Nothing's physical. So what we must do is reach a higher level of intelligence. If we got 200 IQs or 210, 220, that's the max. Is it possible for us to reach 5 billion IQ? You're saying, no, that's not possible. Was it possible back in the day when we had analog to perhaps reach 5G? They would have thought that wasn't possible. Anything is possible, except we have to put in the work to manifest it and bring it into fruition. So what I'm saying is this. Religion, I believe, is keeping us comfortable based upon the pain in which we're experiencing. Just turn it over to God. Just pray. I'll see you when I get to heaven. I'll see you. Mama got her wings. Grandmama got her wings. Listen to me. That sounds plausible for someone that's afraid and sick. And that gives them the reason to acknowledge the fact that I'm going to go somewhere when I leave here. No, we have to bring that somewhere into now. Otherwise, we're going to keep saying, well, I'm going to get my wings one day. I'm get my wings one day. No, 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 no. Listen to what I'm saying. The murderer, the serial killer out there. Is the serial killer going to get wings? Murder going to get wings? The rapist going to get wings? He know not what he does. It's not him that's doing it. It's the energy that's gripped that young child's soul before he came out of the womb that subsequently is utilizing that young soul and tossing him to and from. It's not the person that's doing the crime. It's not just 10, 15, 20 people. It's not. We must begin to understand we have to change our mind. We have to reverse the laws of thermodynamics. We have to reverse physics, as you know, physics from general relativity to special relativity. We have to reverse that. We have to come to the realization and understand that MIT, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, all these Ivy League schools, from the Naval Academy to the Air Force Academy to West Point, are all on the trajectory towards death. That's one of the reasons we have so many militaries, so many people fighting one another, because we're going the wrong way. Then our schools are building material and different structures for the purpose of sustaining hell on earth. If we change our mind first before we would have started building, we would have been building in the right direction, which is towards 13.8 billion years, which is the Big Bang. I'm going to leave you with this. Most physicists and cosmologists are basically stating that there should be antimatter and matter, but they're only seeing matter, meaning in the physical form, as they call physical form, not at the molecular subatomic level, the antimatter. Antimatter will annihilate matter, which is the Big Bang at the beginning of 13.8 billion years, which they talk about the conservation of energy. However, they're saying that from just before the Big Bang, they can use a telescope and go from here 300,000 years before the Big Bang and see that everything is symmetrical. Everything is the same, uniform. The reason this is occurring is because the mind is looking through the telescope is undeveloped, hasn't evolved. So as a result, it's not that everything is the same. It's the mind that's looking through the instrument, because they're not necessarily looking through an instrument. When you touch a telescope, you encoded it. You have no hands. When you look through it, you encoded it. Everything that you see and encode is taste, touch, smell, sight here. It's like a matrix. You're encoding it, but you don't realize you're encoding it because you're only utilizing a small percentage of your mind. So you hadn't reached absolute zero minus friction and heat. Subsequently, you don't understand. Once you begin to understand, you would realize that we must manifest the Big Bang. In closing, that shooting incident that happened in 1994, that took me to another level of understanding. When that happened, I began to see the world different. And the reason I begin to see the world different is because my mind began to upgrade. In other words, I would look out as you looking out, as you drive, as you go to and from, and I would encode the information at a deeper level. Just like you have a computer and one has a virus and one is a quantum physics computer that can extrapolate a level in which most people can't even perceive. It's going to give you the answer in an attosecond versus the one that's going to give you the answer in an hour. So I'm able to see and it's not distorted. So I'm seeing something that's in the future that's not in the past because I'm able to encode it deeper. Everything around you is already here. You just have to encode the depthness of what it is. And as a result, you can now see it in the future and stop it before it manifests in 50 frames. So in other words, the question we must ask ourselves, can we prevent cancer? Can we prevent murder, rape? Can we prevent this? I'm one to believe that we can if we strengthen in mind and encode at a deeper level. The wave function will not collapse and you could see it face to face. And as a result, before it manifests in 50 to 60 frames, you can fight it in the spirit or at that perfect light and it will never manifest. In other words, you're stopping time. I honestly believe we have that potential, but we must grow intellectually. If we can be as smart as the caveman in the 21st century, in another 2, 3, 4 million years, can we be as smart as us? You're saying, what is he talking about? Years are not years as you think. Years are equivalent to power. So 1 billion years will be a large amount of power, terabytes, whatever you want to consider the gigabytes, but the mind is now working stronger, but we don't look at it as working stronger because we look at it as of years because we got life expectancy. But if we can reach a stronger mind, we can reach a higher number of years, and we will be able to see things in the now and stop time. And as a result, we can start building in the other direction, which is towards the truth. But anyway, shout out to my grandbaby Noah, granddaddy, love your son. Shout out to Walter, my oldest son, Winton and Catherine, Zion, grandbaby Now, Gabe, as well as Danielle. I was out jogging this morning. I can honestly say your grandchildren play a very valuable role in helping you to continue on that journey. When I was in the military, we used to sing cadence. And when I'm out there jogging, my cadence is sounding off my grandsons' names. And that keeps me going. And trust me, I'm going to fight for mine. And I'm going to fight for yours. May God bless you all. God bless.